Hey y'all, I just want to jump up here and talk a little bit about the Braxtons. Um, I said on my last video that I am not pleased with them sisters. Okay? But before we get deep and dirty down into this dish, I want you all to go out and hit that subscribe button if you do not subscribe already to my channel. I want you to become one of my dishes. Um, and of course, hit the like button so on this video so that I can be pushed up in the algorithm. But anyways, I am truly, like I said before, disappointed with the Braxtons. I almost did not even want to watch this season. I can see why Tamar probably didn't want to have anything to do with it. It seems like it's the Tina and the Tawanda Braxton show. They don't seem like they're unified together. They're showing their separate lives. You know, it's just not much coming together. Tony over on the West Coast, Tamar doing her own thing, excuse me. And then there's Tina and Tawanda, who's stirring up all the drama. And what, in my opinion, and I say my opinion, that it seems like manipulation and the use of Traci and her story and her illness, her son, and all of that, and the aftermath that he's going through and he's suffering. My heart breaks for this guy. For Kevin Jr. because I think, was Tracy's heart, and he's just caught in the crossfire between his father and his aunts, his maternal grandma on his mom's side. And I just think it's really, really sad. And it just seems like that they're using him and her story and her likeness for the benefit of them to get a coin. I've said it and I do believe it. And what we've heard, and I'm going to share with you the clips from an interview that Kevin Sr. did with Sherelle Worrell, I think that's how I'm pronouncing it correctly. And he is debunking a lot of the stuff that they're painting him out to be this bad person, a bad father. They're painting him out to be, a bad husband, that he went against Tracy's will, her last will and testament, and all of this. And he is breaking it down.
Kind of, a picture was painted. And the picture was, we moving down there. I'm going to sell my house up here. We're going to move down there. And they also gifting a house to us. I'm like, oh, wow. So Tracy was saying, yeah, the house is going to be gifted to us, and we're moving down there. And also we know people that can help you get it. I knew a lot of people in our area. So I always was able to get jobs. So when I got down there, the narrative was totally different. And it just threw me, off. And then Tony went to Vegas. So when Tony went to Vegas, everybody went with.
How close was the Braxtons with Junior before Tracy got sick?
20%. A lot of stuff that was taking place. Like, I don't understand why Tracy wasn't getting the support that she needed in this area. Like she did Blues Alley. That was huge for her. The only one that showed up was my brother-in-law, and I thank God he did a duet with her. And it was beautiful. But that was like a milestone for her. So all of her things that she did, it showed that you're not supporting Tracy, and she's supporting everybody in their ventures, and sometimes off camera and things of that nature. And I don't know if that's a driving force, but it goes back, years, decades, that they did everything they can to try to divide us. And I just would tell Tracy what goes on with us. It's important that we balance it to the best of our ability. Now, me, and why they had a problem with me, I don't know to the day. Because, if they say it's because I cheated on my wife, if you watch Marriage Boot Camp, Tracy clearly sat beside me and said, we both had infidelity. We both went through that process of healing from the infidelity that we went through. But another thing I took on, Sherelle, if no one, like you guys have been married for decades, I wasn't letting nobody come into my marriage on my part if you hadn't stood on those grounds. I'm sorry, you can't come in and talk about a situation and you haven't even lived it. Myself and Traci lived it, no matter good, bad, and indifferent. We lived it. To death did us part. Also, uh, told Traci we gotta let the family know because I wanted her to have support. And so I set up a Zoom call. I contacted Tony through a text message, and then we in turn set up a Zoom call, and everybody was on the Zoom. And I had to let them know what was going on. They said if there's anything they can do, let them know. This is around about December. The holidays was coming, December 15th, 16th. The holidays was coming, so I wanted to make sure that she had all the support that she needed to get to. We had, I should say, to get through this process. So start pouring in. Thing that came out, it was like I'm gonna take care of the home, and that was just my job. And Traci, she would contribute to the pot, and we would just manage things that way. Bad with money, I would say we both were. We both had our valleys and peaks with that. And I think if you're in a marriage or in a relationship, you have your learning curves. So we had to learn from that. As far as the estate, I believe that there was some, how can I say, I just want to say the word manipulation in that situation. If you look at the numbers, Traci, December the 20th, I think December the 14th, I think is the day that she did. Traci was at the highest level of medication at that time. And I don't really think that doing a will during that time was the right time to do a will. And then on top of that, they tried to catch her when I wasn't there. So I worked. I was still working during this process. So I was happy the family was there. I worked the overnight shift at the VA hospital. And unfortunately, the will was executed during that time. After she passed 10 to 15 minutes. I need to read something to you according to the will. Where they do that at? I'm on the phone. I just lost my wife. This is the behavior I started dealing with as soon as she passed. An hour after she left, an hour after she passed, I was in the room for 2 hours by myself with my wife, waiting for the funeral home to come. Nobody stayed with me. So I I just look at stuff like that, and then I'm getting this call. Then the next day, saying it's going to be a Zoom call. I'm still processing my wife's death. I'm not even, really talking to people. I'm trying to process. Then I got to take care of my son at the same time. And all I'm getting is, what you going to do? What's going on with this? Blah, blah, blah. No, not supporting the process. So let's go back to your initial question. We've been out. We knew what she wanted. She wanted one viewing, a private viewing. And we set that up with the funeral home that she had put in play. Traci made me talk to the funeral home director when I didn't want to. So the funeral home director came to my house and we talked privately. And she said, this is what Traci wants. I kept telling her I wasn't there yet, but okay. So I executed everything that Traci wanted, from the private viewing, which was set up for my in-laws at the funeral home that my father-in-law had used for his mother, father, brother, sister, and other family members on the Braxton side. So one thing about this funeral home, they know all the Braxtons. So then this narrative came out that my father-in-law wasn't on the list. My sister that you talked to, she was my coordinator. She knew my father-in-law. She was at the door. Her and the funeral home director knew my father-in-law. You still there, Sherelle? You froze. Okay. So all this stuff that's taking place is just really, I feel like, trying to just kind of disturb me in this process of grieving my wife. But I was working through it. And so I worked through it, and then I was able to make sure everybody was good. Now, my father-in-law and brother-in-law did come in to the private viewing. And this was the last time we had Traci's body. And she was beautiful that day. Me and my son made sure she looked excellent for her final viewing. And we also FaceTime my mother-in-law, sister-in-laws, and I all had them on the phone, and they saw her on FaceTime and said she was beautiful in the initial looking at her. It was a no-show. I had that road sign my mother-in-law, sister-in-laws, and I all had them on the phone, and they saw her on FaceTime and said she was beautiful in the initial looking at her. So the private viewing, we had everything set up for everybody to come in, and it was a no-show. Now, I expected to have them for that, the private viewing. It was a no-show. I had that row set up, so a lot of people, I had security there, so a lot of people wouldn't bother them. You know what I mean? Because it's not the time or place. So I made sure I invited people who understood that.
But I just really think the person that, after seeing the latest episode with how Kevin Jr. just was laid out, he having seizures now post his mother's death. And, you know, with dealing with all the stress that's probably stress related with his wife divorcing him. I think they said they knew each other since they were 14 years old. And it's got to be heartbreaking. He lost his house. He lost his wife. He's lost custody of his child. And he doesn't seem to have such a great relationship with his father, Kevin Sr. And he's now being pimped, I think, by his aunts. I don't think that Tawanda is genuine at all. I said that in my last video. I think it's Tawanda who's the puppet master behind all of this. I think she is the one that is putting out the narrative that Kevin Sr. is this bad person just so that they can sell ratings and stuff for the Braxtons. Because think about it, they have nothing else to talk about. They have nothing else to talk about. And Traci's story has been the biggest storyline for this entire season. And they don't want to have anything. She said it on one of the episodes that she won't have Kevin Sr. up there saying anything. And you know the reason why? Because she don't want Kevin to tell his story. So guess what? He went to and did an interview on YouTube to get his story out because they won't allow that to happen on the actual Braxtons themselves. So yeah, and she was like, it'll be over her dead body and all of this stuff, you know, if he films and all of this. And I'm like, why is she so against it? Because you know what? They always say that there's two sides to a pancake, right? There's two sides. We've heard their side, and now Kevin Sr. is sharing his side. And the truth is going to fall somewhere in the middle. But that man, we owe it to that man to hear his side of the story. He was with that woman until death did them part. They were together for a long time, 30 plus years. And he would know his wife better than anyone else, I would think. Those women didn't even, sisters, were in a whole nother state, you know, and they didn't seem to have that great a relationship with Traci, nor any other people up there on the in the DMV area. And look, I'm not gonna let Miss E, off the hook here, because I really think a lot of this fault is probably bears on her shoulders. She was a bitter woman after her husband, Mr. Braxton, left her for a woman in the church. That's right, a woman in the church of all places. And he being a pastor, she being a pastor, okay? So I think that she has a problem with men in general. And that has been resonated with her daughters. And none of them really has a great relationship and have a long-standing marriage other than Traci, who was up in the DMV that had a relationship with her father, Mr. Braxton, and his new wife. So I just feel like that this bitterness, this division, this, separation has been all caused by Miss E and how she handled the situation of being divorced from her husband. And I know that's a bitter pill to swallow, but honey, you got to get over and get over and heal. Don't allow a person that has hurt you to, have that much control of you for that long a period of time. You have to heal for yourself so that you can move on and not be disturbed by it. I know she says she's not been disturbed by it, but I do believe that, all that resentment and hate and that division has spawned from that relationship. And Miss Evelyn did not, handle that well. And that has been reflective in their family. So, like I said, I think that the whole culprit behind this has been Tawanda, who's supposed to be the responsible one. But I think you are the responsible one. You're responsible for all this division, hate, and all the narrative that you're painting about this man. And it's causing strife in your nephew's, Traci's only child, son's life. And I think that you all ought to be ashamed.